Exception, Blacklisted Podcast.
So let's talk about Fittest of the Coast. I obviously wasn't there, but I had to remote coach some athletes while you guys had all the fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It was a good time.
Yeah, let's just start with an overview of like the competition itself and what you guys thought of it, maybe compared to some other ones.
Yeah. I mean, you want competition. Okay. Yeah. Fittest of the Coast. So I went there last year and coached a couple people, mostly a lot of Krista's people from Align. We had a couple people competing there, and it was a pretty well-run event. They got behind last year, but they were able to catch back up a little bit, which obviously that's one of the kind of like the big things about a major competition is not getting behind.
Do you think they did a better job than like Wadapalooza or something like that?
Yeah,
in time.
I think
frame.
So I've been down to Wadapalooza 4 times now, 3 or 4, I can't remember. And from my understanding, Wadapalooza only gets off during like if it's raining and shit, which this year I guess it rained like every day. So, but Fittest of the Coast tends to do a pretty good job of keeping themselves on track, and the reason that they get off track is because the way the competition is set up. So it's like the first day and a half is individuals, and then they switch over to teams on the second half of Saturday. So they do like the podium for individuals and then the transition for the team workouts. So it ends up becoming like a really tough logistical thing to time up with everything. Especially like, I mean, we can get into that later, but like if you're having to dispute the last workout, you end up running into even more.
Do you think it'd be a better idea if they waited to do all of the podium ceremonies at the end of the weekend? Which, I mean, that's what Wadapalooza does. It doesn't force you, but it encourages you to hang around.
Yeah, I think that would be a much better time to do it, and then you could just do the transition. Like, is it unfortunate for the individuals? Yeah, but it would also encourage. To be honest, I think it would be cool if you had to do both in the weekend. You had to do individual and you had to do team, because a lot of the time, like these team, like if you're doing team, you're just showing up completely fresh. When like if you did both, you had individuals that had done 5 workouts already going into the team competition, and then you have individuals who are completely fresh going in.
Yeah.
So I think it would encourage people to do both a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, you already have people not show up for podium ceremonies anyway, so people are going to be like, well, the individuals may not be there. Well, you know what? Sucks, I guess, because a lot of times they just dip out.
Right.
But especially if they're pissed off they didn't win or whatever. But then, I mean, you have some that stay around and they decide to compete as the team anyway, so they got to be there.
Right.
So do it all there, and you have the majority of the fans and people that are coming to watch.
Yeah.
They're already there too, so that might solve that one small issue on timing. But that's good. I mean, every time I've competed at Wadapalooza, they've always been off.
Yeah.
Whether it rained or not.
Okay.
They've thrown in things that they shouldn't be doing. Wadapalooza is a great event, but I always tell people, like Wadapalooza is a bucket list event. Like, go there, check it off the list, especially if you're not going to make money. Don't get hurt.
Yeah. If you're going to make money, like, you probably need to go to that every single year. But, like, if you're just trying to compete at it, it's a bucket list of, like, event. Check it off the list, and then honestly find, like, less intensive, more safe, like, events. And that's what Fittest of the Coast is.
I was about to say, so what would you consider, like, level-wise, Fittest of the Coast is in, like, competitive CrossFit?
Yeah.
Like, what athletes are the ones that want to
they
go
have
to this?
Yeah, they have a ton of divisions there. So, like, I guess the best way to describe this, there's like 3 major competitions now that are happening in January. It's like Fittest of the Wadapalooza, Fittest of the Coast, and Fittest Experience. Wadapalooza is like one of the hardest competitions to ever exist. Like, it might even be harder than the games to qualify for. Like, I have people who are qualifying for like intermediate division now that are pissed, but in reality, like, the pro division or elite division at Wadapalooza is like the top 20 to 30 athletes in the world, legitimate, not just like self-selected by CrossFit. It's like legitimately the top 20 to 30 in the world
the RX division is like the best semifinal athletes in the world, and the intermediate is like a RX level competition anywhere, and then scaled's like still an RX level competition, you know. So like Wadapalooza is an anomaly in and of itself, just because there's so many people competing at it, and so it just elevates the competition level relative to the rest of the CrossFit field. Fittest of the Coast, which is like the next event, is they have a multitude of divisions, and they have a lot of good athletes that show up. And I think because it's still growing, it's not to the point where you're having a ton of high level experience there. I think that's going to continue to change though, because this event is so well run. But you have kind of like there were games level athletes on teams there. There's semifinal athletes, individual qualifiers there, and then it kind of trickles down from there. And I would say the divisions are pretty approximate to what you would think of like an RX and intermediate and stuff like that.
Do you think they want to have individual games level athletes show up, or do you think they're trying to aim to keep?
So I
those parameters?
Yeah. So I talked to the owner last year about potentially doing like a program for them as like a build up into their qualifier, and it's at the time. Obviously, things change from year to year, but at the time, his big thing was we want to create a competition more for like the RX and intermediate athletes and put them as the focus of the competition.
And I think that's smart. I do. That's why I was wondering, because if they want to try and get elite games level athletes, you're gonna have to start increasing the prize purse.
Yeah.
It's the only way you attract them.
I almost think that like you increase your higher level competition by increasing the amount of individuals you have doing the middle competition. Like you increase both ends by increasing the middle.
Yep.
And that's like how economics works, right? You increase the middle class, you increase the upper class and potentially the lower class. I don't know. But yeah, I think that was his goal. That was his goal last year, and I would say there was probably, I think it was a denser top of the field, if that makes sense, but it wasn't. I don't know if it was necessarily as stacked. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I was wondering, if for athletes, if you're like an athlete looking to find a competition to go for, and people, a lot are like, oh well, Wadapalooza is on the bucket list. Oh, I didn't make the qualifier. You should have been looking at Fittest of the Coast. Not that you can't do both qualifiers, but like, hey, like that's, and I don't even have to be a backup. That might be the one. Be like, look, I'm going to take a shot in the dark for Wadapalooza. If I make it, great. But I really want to be competitive and learn to be more competitive.
Yeah.
This is a great competition to be like, hey, I'm going to qualify for this.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and test and work on, like, test the skills that I've been training and see what I've progressed on, so I know the next step for the next season.
Yeah. Yeah, I think this one too, just because of like where it's at in its stage and kind of growing into like what it's going to be officially. It's a great like stepping stone for athletes that are kind of up and coming, 1 to 2 years into the sport. You go there, and I think you can gain a lot of confidence for a big level competition without it being like a very, very major competition, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So they found. I think that's their niche. Like you want to know what you are, and if you don't want to like outgrow your pants, right? Make sure, Dan.
What rude?
Is this a reference to Dan losing his pants at Fittest of the Coast?
It wasn't at Fittest of the Coast. It was in the back of a Piggly Wiggly.
That's fair.
But it was.
And his name
it was
was
on
Jeff.
that trip. But it was on that trip. Did anybody get a video of this?
I don't recall.
Unfortunately, no.
That's unfortunate. Yeah, it's really unfortunate.
I don't recall. As far as I remember, I remained quite professional all weekend.
That's a lie.
So apparently they made a bet on to see if Dan could be professional all weekend, and he made it 2 hours, and then he was in the back of a Piggly Wiggly with his pants down around his ankles.
$20, man.
That is. Wait, somebody's paying you $20?
When you're not blessed with what I have, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah. The whole scenario doesn't make sense.
You're right. I fucked it up.
You did have shorts on, though.
I did, and the whole premise was to
So
prove.
that's why there wasn't a heart attack from an old lady.
Oh, there was no old people there. We were the only people
ones
in
in the store.
That
Also,
doesn't
why
make
it's
it as fun.
professional.
It's
so
a
it's like a
Piggly
tree.
Wiggly.
Well, I mean, you weren't the only ones. There were people working there.
One person. She was an old lady.
Two.
Oh, there were two?
A young lady and an old lady.
Well, the old lady probably would have been happy.
Heart attack.
I would be happy to die too.
This podcast brought to you by Suicide Awareness. If you know someone, or if you know yourself, never mind.
Have they? So they did a 4K trail run.
Yep.
Which honestly, I wish they would have put in, if it were warmer, like a run, swim, run.
That's what I was getting at. You
Shocker.
psychopath.
They did have a lake there that you.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you could
How-
swim in.
how
it, but
close
there
Oh, you
was a lake.
definitely could.
that to the water.
Yeah.
It was on it.
It was on
it. I'm.
Have they ever done a swim event in the ocean?
No, but the lady, Meg and I actually ran into the lady
Potentially.
in the hall. Yeah, they want to do a swim event.
Well, I
Yeah.
mean, why
So-
not? You're gonna be fittest to the coast.
Well,
Well,
yeah. The ocean
it's
is
the time of
rather
year.
cold.
It's cold.
This
But-
time
Suck it
of
up.
year.
That's
You could.
true. Don't
It-
be a bitch.
You
But-
could. It's so cold though.
But so like,
Wear a wetsuit.
I mean,
honestly, yeah. I mean, they make them.
Maybe you do that for the elite division. Be like, hey, bring a wetsuit.
Or
honestly,
or they
that'd
could
be really
staff
cool.
them. Yeah.
I mean,
They
Blue
could staff.
Blue 70 makes some really good ones. This podcast not brought to you by Blue 70, but they make some good ones.
Yo, send Fittest of the Coast an email. Be like,
Tier?
hey,
So
Does Tier do that?
No.
was
they're
Tier,
not as-
Tier, you
Wild
suck.
South was the sponsor.
yeah. So, but the
Well, I just meant for only swim stuff.
Yeah.
well, like we could. There are pools in the area that are not far away, and
Yeah.
I have connections to pretty much every single swim coach in the southeast.
Humble brag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a.
Yeah.
Dan is the fish man.
I know a lot of swim coaches. I have connections.
Sweet.
Russian mafia.
I would send them an email. But one thing I do like about this event is that they take feedback super well.
Yeah,
So
That's good.
So the year before last year, 2 years ago, somebody was saying, Krista actually was saying that their rig was not good and it was like very shaky, etc. And the following year, they basically just straight up upgraded their rig and bolted it into the ground, like even better. It was, and then the rig's, it's a pretty good rig. We'll just put it that way.
This year was not bolted in the ground. It was on skids. That's Valor.
Oh, okay,
Yeah, so
okay,
Valor Fitness, they use these like 400-pound skids
okay,
to put the rigs on.
okay.
And that's why they're like all their shit's like the Valor Fitness is the equipment sponsor
Yeah.
for the Grid League, and they don't bolt their shit into the ground.
Okay.
It's only on skis.
Yeah, well,
It's
I mean
crazy.
that was a huge fix from last year. I think there was probably a lot of time complaints 2 years ago. Probably a lot of time complaints from last year, and like they did a great job. Like they did get off, but it was nowhere near like last year. And then they were fine. Like that little change is the only thing, and I think it's still just a little kink that they're trying to work out.
They were only 15 minutes behind on day 2.
Yeah, right.
And that's perfectly fine. There was frustration with them being early at one point because like that is a problem.
Yes,
Can't
yeah.
be early.
No. The opposite of what all Type A people want to hear.
But I mean
Griff.
I mean, yes, but like for
Ah.
competing, no, because your warm ups and everything else has to be
Yeah.
done well.
Yeah, I mean, the programming for the event is really well done as well. Like the events are pretty fun, and like you get a lot. Like if you're competing both team and individual, you get a ton of workouts. Like
Yeah.
9. You get 9 workouts.
9 across a weekend.
Yeah. So
4 of them in one day.
yeah. So you get a lot of competition, and like
That was wild.
I will say, like
Atlanta
Wadapalooza
Wild.
has great they have great events as well usually, and their stages are awesome. But I mean, you have people coming out of that competition hurt every year, and their seasons are.
Yeah,
ended
I
because
tore
of
my
it.
rotator cuff whenever I was last there, 2 years ago maybe,
Yeah.
whatever it was. It wasn't this past season, it was the season before. I tore my
Yeah.
rotator cuff because we had a handstand push-up overhead squat, like shorty bar workout.
Yeah.
And we warmed up 58 minutes before that.
Yeah.
Like, that's the last
Yeah.
time we warmed up. And the only reason is because, I don't have to name names, but someone
It's silly.
decided they were going to do a whole, thank you event and bring people out on the floor and like
Was
'cause
this like the 10-year reunion or something like that?
Probably.
Oh, I think that was the year that we competed against you guys there. Actually, it was like the 60. It was like a fuckload of shit. It was like bar muscle ups and
No,
hangs.
so that was 2019.
Oh, okay.
That was 2019 on
Okay.
the team stuff. This
Yes.
was it went as an individual.
Oh, okay.
but yeah, there was a lot of stuff with that year.
Yeah.
I like that
but
description. A fuckload of shit.
yeah, no, there
I mean,
was,
there was a
dude.
fuckload of shit.
Yeah, dude.
It's like bar muscle ups and the hang power cleans into deficit kipping handstand push
Funny-
ups.
you wanna hear a funny story about
bar
that
muscle
workout?
ups into,
That's nonsense.
it was wild.
They were so
Atlanta Wild.
overly busy that year, and they didn't have enough judges. They pulled a girl out of the stands, not blackout, but I'm just saying black. She was drunk as shit to judge us, and
fuck.
she missed an entire round of bar muscle ups, of 20 bar muscle ups. She literally was like, "You guys didn't do it," and we're like,
What are you talking about?
"What are you talking about?" Yeah, my teammate lost his
I can
Yeah.
see that happening.
Yeah, good times, good times. We did take second that year, but
But yeah, I think this competition is getting pretty comparable to like TFX, if that makes sense. And the programming for this competition is, in my opinion, is way better than the programming for
Oh,
TFX.
the programming was
Good.
great.
Yeah.
So like, what would you think like strengths and weaknesses of of this competition are? Just like a couple for each, or maybe if there's
Oh,
maybe
man.
there's not that many weaknesses. I don't know.
There
That-
honestly, my perception was not very many weaknesses.
I don't
Are
think
you
there's.
crying?
No, I spilled some water.
Big
girls don't cry.
I don't think there's very many weaknesses. I think if they could do a little bit better job of like figuring out the athlete area, but I mean they have so many people competing there
Yeah,
that
that's
it's just
true.
like
They
it's
need a bigger venue.
The athlete
Yeah.
area is always a struggle. in a
yeah,
lot
but
of
I mean like
competitions.
they're still growing and like they're still figuring out these things. So like maybe if they have a weakness, I think in the following year it like ends up turning into a strength. But like obviously we had a lot of people competing there, and we
19,
had,
right?
Yeah, we had 19 people competing there. And we had a lot of people do very well. We had Amanda won the pro division. We had 2 athletes, Caroline and AJ, win the intermediate team division. We had multiple athletes place inside the top 10 of their
Almost all of
divisions.
them.
Yeah, almost everybody placed inside the top 10.
Almost
or,
every single team, especially.
yeah, or literally just right outside. So I mean, we
Pat
had
and Amanda got third.
yeah, they got third. Yep. So we had like a really good showing there. So obviously we're probably a little bit biased, but like as I've been in this for a long time, I've seen a lot of competitions run, and like back in the day, regionals had like this feel to it that was just a ton of fun, and like the atmosphere was awesome there. And this competition, Wadapalooza is also a lot of fun. I will say that, but this competition has the closest feel to like a regionals-esque competition, and I think one of the reasons is because everybody is like right up on the floor. When you're done with your workouts, like you are surrounded by the people that are there to watch you,
Yeah.
you know? And I think that is something that CrossFit competitions need to try and do a better job of, is like condensing everything. That's the other thing, is like they condense the field. So they have 2 stages there. Or they have 1 floor, but there's 2 stages on that floor. So everybody is crowded around this one spot, and it brings the energy and the atmosphere like through the roof. So like on the
was so loud.
yeah, on the second to last day, or sorry, the last day, it finished with like an all-out sprint on the rower and the C2 bike, and every 25 minutes you would just hear this like elevated cheering on one side of the floor, and
Like
like
home team just scored a touchdown.
yeah. So
Nuts.
but like that also carried over into the other side, because
Yep.
the other side had to kind of
They were doing max snatches.
yeah. So it was like that setup in and of itself just makes the competition so much more fun, and it makes it way more intimate, which I think is one thing that attracted people to CrossFit in the first place, is just how the intimacy of, you're almost right there, you're seeing the emotions of the competitor as they're competing, and then you get the emotions right as that competitor finishes.
Dude, that was. I think when Nate and Sava went,
Yeah,
everyone
it's
did
just-
great, but like Nate and Sava saw God. Like they sent so hard. I mean, Nate got 52 calories in the last. They were on the rower for a minute and like 23 seconds, or a minute 20. Now, granted, it was the Valor rowers, so the algorithm was a little off. You can get more calories per pull. And also, Nate was doing like what this chick did in 2015 or 2016 regionals, where she was laying all the way back and pulling the handle all the way past her head. But Nate wasn't able to do that because he's taller. But the fact, like, just seeing every single lane, those who weren't little bitches, pushing past that point of like, I just have to die. Like, I have to die. Like, my teammates relying on it. this just has to happen. And
What's great about team workouts.
Yeah, it was so cool to watch. Like every single person, and then like even those that went early in the day with that workout, it didn't really negatively impact their performances in the second workout.
Yeah.
At all.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Yeah. Which again kind of goes to the like programming of the event. Like it didn't affect it either or that much.
How much time do they have typically between events?
Yeah, so this is
depends.
actually what they do interesting in the competition. So they run it where and I'm probably going to screw this up. We figured it out last year. I can't remember exactly, but it's like you basically they wave it one way and then they like snake it. So it's like you go one way and then it comes back the other way. So if you're on the middle section, you have a really fast turnaround and it kind of sucks.
Like John and Kara.
Yeah. But if you're on the ends, you have a pretty big turnaround and it's not terrible.
John and Kara had a 2-hour turnaround between their first and second event on the last day.
Yeah, I think about 2 hours is important.
Yeah.
Because you need to be able to recover and eat.
Yeah.
And then be able to re-warm up.
Yeah, it's not like old team regionals where it's like you finish and then literally an hour later you're going back out on the floor.
Dude.
Well.
Remember
Was
those
it 2018? That was last year regionals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the death. Saturday was the death day.
Well, you had to drag everybody.
Well, that was the final day. No, the death day on Saturday, where all the
There's a
men
lot of death in this podcast.
were laid out on the floor from that partner deadlift workout.
Wasn't that the one where the girl was like kicking her partner, like pick up the fucking bar, like hitting him?
Jess Phillips.
was that her?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh shit!
Straight up shoved him into the bar. The dude was not like
That was with the Echo bike, right?
Yeah, it was the
Yeah,
so
yeah.
it was like
Disgusting
one pair
workout.
to do like 90, like males had to do 90 calories, the
Yeah.
females did 60 maybe.
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
there was the other one was like 3 rounds of 30 and 20.
Yeah.
Which was so unfair.
Yeah, yeah.
Because then you also had to do more weight for the females on
Yeah,
the deadlifts.
yeah.
And so Jessica Phillips just absolutely annihilated her partner. And
Yeah.
he was not even, they had someone that had to get switched out and put him in last second. He was not prepared and just got beat to shit.
Yeah, Nicole used to tell us stories about that all the time. Like that guy was, I can't remember who
He
it
has
was.
to have PTSD.
He was so fucked up. He was so fucked up.
Poor fella, we're here for you. But like, I thought the programming was great, not just because like speaking bias.
But they were fun events.
It was
too.
fun event.
Like
It was grid-like. Some of them were.
Yeah.
So there's bias there for me. However, it forced everyone to have to compete.
Yeah.
And have to like fucking
yeah, and like
go.
So one of the ways you know it's like a great programmed event is the points. The system, everything's tight, right? The point system is tight, and so Amanda going into the final workout was 10 points out from first place, but she would have had the tie break had she tied her. So she needed to basically she needed to win the workout and then get one person in between the current first place finisher. And it happened. We'll let her tell the story about the background behind it, but it happened, and it was literally like a split second between second place and the girl getting third place. Yeah. And it was like that is the closest finish I've ever seen to an
timers, or was it stopwatch?
It was stopwatch, but you could clearly
you could see
it.
it.
Yeah. It was a full step, but like that is by far the closest I have ever seen individual competition come down to the wire. I've seen Wadapalooza 2020 had the closest team competition. It was like literally 0.2 milliseconds. But that was the closest individual one I'd ever seen.
You think had Amanda not Juggernaut taken over that girl in the run, do you think she would have won?
No, she wouldn't have.
No, she wouldn't have. She needed
The
those points.
The point system. Yeah. So
That's
That's
a
really
very
cool.
good lesson in understanding. Hey,
Yeah.
always grab one more spot.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
that was
points
really awesome.
Grab
points matter.
one more spot.
I honestly expected Amanda when she was finishing the 4K to be like, "I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!" when she finished, because like she looked
It's a
like
Marvel
she
reference.
looked like
Marvel?
The,
What's that?
Yeah,
Yes,
Marvel.
100%.
There's X-Men. She looked like the T-1000 chasing after John Connor as a little boy. No expression, just
Terminator reference.
nothing. It was fantastic. She just overtook that girl. I was like, damn. It was amazing. Like, I get goosebumps thinking about it.
Tristan, you should go ahead and edit that in there. Just fucking
Yeah.
have her running,
I think,
have
yeah.
her running, and put her like the juggernaut like helmet on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we should get her on a podcast because she has a ton of just like interesting little tidbits behind that whole
Honestly,
the whole
a great
competition.
topic would be to have her come in and talk about her win.
Yeah, yeah,
Great.
yeah. But she was the most like
Epic
poised and like just
Oh, yeah.
confident. That was by far the best competition I've seen her have.
She looked like a games athlete. Like watching what she needed to do. She was so far ahead on the row.
Trust me, I know. Whenever I came over, what was it, April?
Yeah, April-ish. Yeah.
Yeah.
3 weeks in, she had a switch in her brain.
Yeah.
Ever since then, she's
Yeah.
been fine.
She's been on a. She was playing on a different level than all those ladies there this
She
weekend.
was almost a minute ahead during the row, dumbbell bench, and power clean workout.
Yeah.
She
was-
purposefully pulled back at
Yeah.
the very end. She touch and go to every single clean.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I mean isn't much for her, right? I mean,
But,
what
yeah.
was the last weight? 205.
But this is the thing is like so she like obviously that one plays to her strength, but in a basically gymnastics bias, obviously the bike played into that workout. So it was like bike, sandbag squat, carry, gymnastics movement,
Yeah.
and you basically did that for 3 rounds.
Great.
She was, and the first movements were ring muscle ups, and the last movement was ring muscle ups. So you're under a lot of fatigue during your last set of ring muscle ups. She finished third in that workout, but she finished third by like 8 seconds in that workout.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
She was. Hannah beat her.
and
Hannah-
Shaylin was
Shay,
a second,
yeah.
like a
Hannah-
literally a
Well,
second.
another games team after this.
Yeah.
Hannah went 7.
Shaylin had multiple different 1 second finishes. That's sweet.
I would say the only complaints, essentially, my perception of the competition this weekend was one, like the run, because several people got lost.
Yeah,
right, Tristan?
that's true. Yeah. That's true. Yeah.
There was a piece where like a handful of the RX men and RX women, and then Tristan and at least how many others?
What it was?
4 or
Oh,
5
wow. Yeah.
got lost on the run.
Yeah.
Like we thought
Lit.
we thought Tristan got eaten by a gator or something. Like it was
I
concerning.
don't think they have gators up there,
No.
but
They don't.
I was
They
concerned
have-
about that for Wadapalooza. I was
Well,
like, gators gonna fucking kill.
I was-
someone.
Oh yeah, that trail run.
Hell
I was
yeah.
more concerned, honestly, about him encountering a fighting cock on the run. Because it's South Carolina.
Yeah, I got that.
Those are rooster chicken things.
What?
Nothing. So the other thing is cellular service in that godforsaken venue.
Yeah, but you can't fix that.
No, but I can complain about it.
They could
That's
open
fair.
up their Wi-Fi. That'd be nice.
The one router they had, probably.
Yeah.
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 Get more routers.
So why do you think the blacklisted athletes had such a high level of success? Your perception of not, like you weren't there, but you see what's happening every Saturdays and more, and you just because you've created this culture,
Well,
essentially.
there's two different things. Obviously, you have programming,
Of course.
then you have your community of competitive athletes,
So-
right? And almost the entire community was there, right? And
Yeah.
I think that from my personal experience of competing, I've also done this for most of my time on my own, but it makes a big difference when you have a group of people around, and it could be for different reasons based on who you are. But like for me, I don't need the cheering and knowing people are there for me. It's more so like, hey, like I need water, but I'm trying to warm up. Or
Yeah.
I need a couple things.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll go do it myself. But you have these people there to help you, and you have a lot less things to worry about, even though they're so small. And when that happens, you're able to be a lot more focused. And when you're more focused and locked in, and you can give more of your effort and percentage to something, you'll do a lot better. And I
Yeah.
think that's one big side of it. And then a lot of other people are more like the emotional side of just having people there to support them, and the people that are used to around them. It's like you're just training on a weekend, right? Like, forget now that you got a bunch of judges and stopwatches out there, and it's like a race. Like, yeah, you don't have to be, if that stresses you out, you don't have to. You're just around all the people you train with anyway, and it's just a normal training day.
Yeah, yeah.
But then the other side, obviously, is the programming to it.
Yeah.
You know, developing athletes, helping them fix their weaknesses. Also, if you have, we have pretty decent coaches here that kind of know what's going to probably show up in competitions and how they're going to be structured. And I think, caring about each individual athlete, making sure those weaknesses are taken away, and also knowing, hey, like this is probably what's going to show up. We'll make sure we're prepared for it. Is really going to help those athletes really excel versus trying to figure it out on your own.
Yeah. I mean, we had quite a few people that just said it was so nice to have somebody there, like a coach there, and then Krista, Yana, everybody was really good about personally helping me out, like getting me like food and drinks, and Raphael was getting Dan stuff too. So like having the community there, and I'm sure that was going on for other athletes as well. That was kind of just my own, my own perception, but having that community there, I think, to take away some of the stress of the little things that you have to deal with at competition, and then you're only focused on competing at that point in time is huge. If you can travel in a pack to something like this in the future, like I think that's the way to go.
It's clutch for sure.
Yeah.
It reminded me so much of like club sports type of deal.
Never played them.
That's fair. I believe you. Okay. Think about in your case, like growing up at evangelical movements and whatnot.
Never went to them.
Okay, then I don't know what to tell you.
I was locked in a broom closet under my stairs.
Oh.
All right, Harry Potter.
I see the surgical removal of the lightning scar on your forehead. Shit, I lost it.
Success.
There we go. There's number one. Well, he almost had one earlier.
It's gone now. God, it was important. Oh, all right. So, like, traveling as a pack food, like, reminding me of club sports. Okay, the athletes, the blacklisted community that was there, like, they knew when they were going to go to warm up, there'd be a coach there. They knew when they came on the floor, there was going to be a coach there. And coach either being the community. I mean, we're all coaches essentially, at least for the most part. Those who are associated with blacklisted, if you're an athlete, or if you are not, you're likely going to be a coach at your associated gym, and so on and so forth. Like with blacklisted specifically, I've honestly never seen a company like blacklisted having coaches taking care of like all the athletes, whether it was like my athlete or not. Like example, your client Taylor. We did our best, honestly, and like Kyle, you made a mention of her. You could see her buying in at that point. What was it you said?
Yeah, I mean, she started with you like 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
About 3 weeks ago. So it was I try. Obviously, as like the owner of the company, I'm trying to make sure that I'm involved with everybody and like learn everybody, right?
Yeah.
And
as you should.
Yeah. So I was still trying to get to know Taylor a little bit at the competition, and like not obviously like not having somebody there, and this being like one of her first bigger competitions.
I think it was her second competition ever.
Yeah. So like emotions are going to be running high, like, and this is like. This competition can be a pivotal point in an athlete's career like hers to build confidence. And so like being there to like help show her some of the small wins that she had along the way, I think really helped build her confidence. And Griff was saying that she went in with pretty high expectations, right? Like
yeah, well she won the like online qualifier, but again, she's new to all this stuff, and like I didn't tell her straight up like, hey, like don't the online qualifier doesn't matter, because it does, but you have to also understand a lot of athletes are training through those qualifiers, and you have it like just because you won it doesn't mean much. Because, like someone that barely slipped in might end up winning it just because of the way they're training through stuff.
Right.
But she was like, yeah, I feel like I need to win, and this is probably a good coaching point for anybody.
Yeah.
What I like to do to help take away a lot of stress when I notice like, hey, you're already stressed out, is I want you to take each event. And I want you to take one thing from that event, and I want you to write it down and be like, this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be about strategy. This is what I want to get good at. So, like, let's say, I'll give you an example. Let's say it's a workout with a bunch of ring muscle-ups, and maybe it's like I've always struggled to challenge myself to be unbroken, and I get scared, and I whatever, and maybe like it's a range that's possible. You're not outside your range. Be like, look, your only goal in this workout is to make sure you push yourself to go unbroken. Get on the rings and go. That's it. I don't care what placement you come in, go.
Yeah.
And this is going to help build that confidence for you to be like, when you walk away from the event, you don't have to worry about I came in first, second, or third, whatever it is. You'd be like, wow, I challenged myself. I accomplished that goal. I've taken one more step further in growing towards what I want to be.
Yeah.
And if you focus on one little thing in each workout, you will walk away from that entire event being like, wow, I feel accomplished. Like, I got better at these things
Yeah.
instead of worrying about the whole of the workout. Because the
Yeah.
whole of the workout, as a coach, we're going to give you the strategy, but we've got to give you something to focus on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that really helped her kind of change her mentality to look
Yeah.
at, like, hey, these are the things. Because I would text her and be like, hey, what's going on? Or like, how'd you feel about that event? And she'd be like, it didn't go as well as I hoped, but I feel so much better knowing that I pushed myself on this piece, and then there would be another workout. She's like, I didn't imagine I was going to do this well on this workout,
Yeah.
but I did so much better than I expected.
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Like because we focused on these little things, and
Yeah.
you're going to have times where like, yeah, you didn't accomplish that. That's all right, but there's 6 workouts. If you go 5 out of 6 on accomplishing those goals, it's pretty good.
Pretty good day.
Yeah. So like I think that's like pretty important
Yeah, yeah.
for all athletes going forward in competitions. Everyone's gonna be a little bit different on things
Right.
to focus on, but I think having some type of strategy like that really benefits
Yeah.
the athlete, and for her, I think it really made a big difference.
Yeah, yeah, and like I don't know if she necessarily is buying in, but I think that she definitely saw that she was capable of a lot more things after the competition. Like I think she went unbroken on her handstand walks, and she was pretty proud of that. Or
Yeah,
like maybe finished
she
it or
couldn't
something.
handstand walk very well before we started. It was 3 weeks. I just gave her.
Yeah.
I've given her a lot of progressions on handstand
Yeah.
walks, but just getting her confident.
Yeah.
Just getting confidence.
It's like I think that's more along the lines of what you saw coming out of it. Is just like I think she walked away super confident in herself after that, which is what this event is great at doing for
Yeah.
a lot of athletes. So
You definitely see that for sure.
yeah.
Not a bunch of crazy high skill stuff.
Yeah,
Forcing
yeah.
them to have.
Well, I mean that
I mean,
complex
it was high skilled.
Yeah.
There were high skilled movements.
Yeah.
But the high skill set was more of a demand of like.
You're not
Go.
seeing parallel L sit to handstand walks
Yeah.
across
Yeah.
the P bars or whatever, right? Like,
Yeah, and it's not at like a
Nor should
crazy.
you.
Yeah, it's not at like a crazy capacity either. Like
Yeah.
you're not putting in 300 feet of handstand walking in the competition. You're putting in 35, 60.
Those are exciting to watch too.
Yeah,
What a race.
However,
races.
the most exciting event I've ever watched is a marathon row.
teach their own because I did.
But I'm
enjoy
very
that.
glad I wasn't at the games I did for that.
I'm being quite facetious.
I'm not.
I know.
I like those things.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
Man, I'll go do a marathon row in my garage right now, but I don't want to do that for a competition where we're doing 8 million reps of things and racing everybody.
That was probably the hardest day of the games ever.
The most watched event was the row.
The half marathon or the full marathon?
Full marathon, most watched event.
how?
I'm kidding. It's not true.
Right. I'm like, what the fuck?
Damn it! I want to look this up now.
Hey, Jamie. You
but-
can't have a computer in front of you.
I mean, I could, but it would take some time to find the answer.
It's valid.
Yeah. But I think the other thing that has helped a lot of our athletes have success, like at this competition specifically, is just some of the things that we're trying to do in person right now. And like so everybody has gotten to the point where they are good. They're very good at this sport. They're well-rounded. They have all the skills. They have the capacity to do things. Now it's taking that and turning that into being a competitor and like the intangibles of being a competitor. And so we're trying in person to get people to compete with each other a little bit more. And I think that has stemmed into just being used to stepping out on the floor, knowing that you are going against people and being okay with that, and then using the skills that you've developed in kind of our community out on the competition floor to kind of lead you to success, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very important part. I think the one part of that if you want to break it down a little bit more, though, it's obviously it's different than going against, like, in a football game, going against a team.
Right.
Right? How you act and how they react
Right.
will determine the game.
Yeah.
In CrossFit, you show up and you become competitive with like 1 or 2 people in each race because everyone has to run their own race.
Right.
But then it comes down to, all right, lane 3 and lane 6 are like within reps of me. I can catch them. I can't catch everybody in front of me. The people behind me can't catch me.
Yeah.
I'm running this race here.
Right.
Now I've got to be competitive and know I've got to get that one spot there, and not fall behind.
Yep.
So it is also understanding if you're not at Justin Medeiros' level, you're not competing against Justin Medeiros.
Right.
Even if you're a games athlete.
Right,
You're
right.
competing against the rest of the people that are around your level in
Right.
each individual workout.
Yep.
So being competitive is super important, but also understanding where you can be competitive.
Yeah.
You
And-
can't burn down the house and get smoked.
And that's what Amanda did super well this weekend, is like obviously finishing the run. She chased somebody down, beat her on the run. And then you could see inside of workouts that she was looking around, paying attention to what everybody else was doing and picking the people who she was going to race against,
Right.
which is a super valuable thing in competitions.
Yes.
And it's like and like going back to like points matter, like those are the points that matter, is the individual races between 5th and 6th place, or 7th and 8th place, or 10th and 9th place. Like
Because overall, that can help you get to first.
that is what gets you to first. Yes, because Amanda was 11th on the run, could have been 12th, and could have lost or not lost, but gotten second place because of that. Instead, she raced the individual she was racing against, came in 11th, and ended up winning the competition because of it. And so like those are the little things that you have to pay attention to, and like the details that you have to pay attention to as a competitor, as you step out onto the or as you are racing whoever it is you're racing.
I love that word, racing.
I mean, it's a race.
Yeah.
Everything's a race.
It's racing, and comparing that to mainstream sports, in baseball, it's okay to look like shit and hit a home run versus look really good and strike out.
Facts.
Like yes, you could have done so many things wrong in your workout, but did you still win? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then shut the fuck up and take the win.
Yeah. 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 I mean, like you don't have to look pretty winning a race. Like
No.
look at most 5K people as they cross the finish line. They look like they just got fucking shot in the face. They stumble, they fall, like, and that's honestly in a performance sport, pushing yourself to that limit is what it takes to win in a performance-based sport.
I wish
So,
swimmers knew that.
well, I feel like swimming is a weird one though, where it's like more of a technique-based sport.
It is. It very much is. It just
Because I
And
try
buoyancy.
buoyancy.
I try really hard in the pool.
You don't have
and
to.
Yeah. Don't go
Right,
anywhere.
Griffin?
Yeah.
Turn Griffin into a manatee. It's funny because it's true.
It's funny because he's fat.
No, I am.
It's a reference.
I know, it's The Hangover. Haha, funny fat guy fall. That's a quote from the movie, not me being racist.
Thanks
You're welcome.
for clarifying that.
Edit that part out.
Or not, whatever.
Oops.
But yeah, I think, I mean, just overall, the whole weekend, it was pretty fun to watch everybody just, I think everybody elevated their game this weekend and stepped up to the plate when their number was called. And it was a lot of fun to watch. We had a great community there. I think we split up into 2 houses, I think, mostly. It was I think it was mostly
I
2
think so.
houses. We stayed with Krista and crew, and
Yeah.
everybody else was kind of with Amanda, Pat, John,
And
Lexi, Emma.
Well, except for Tristan. He stayed
Yeah.
by himself. Loser.
We
Sitting in
really
the
need to have
corner
a
over
behind
there.
the scenes camera guy to catch all the Piggly Wiggly stuff going
Oh
on.
man, that was
Honestly,
it
I'm surprised
was- it would've
Raphael
been-
didn't catch it because he had his camera on him like
All
all
the-
weekend.
yeah.
He filmed me randomly. Like,
We just-
okay,
Oh.
so I had rolls of coins in my laptop bag. I have, in fact, I told you yesterday. I told you this story yesterday, but I'm going to tell it for everybody
did.
else. We paid for parking.
Hold on,
with
tell him the food story first.
Oh yeah, so like these rolls of coins. I had like 20 rolls of 50-cent pennies, like rolls of 50 cents and pennies, and 1 roll of quarters.
For
For
those of
$10
you that
quarters.
only bank online,
Yeah, do you have something at home to like put these coins in so
Yeah.
it roll? Okay, I just
Yeah,
didn't
yeah.
know if you still had one of those or not, or you counted them autistically.
yeah. So it
Oh, I
will,
definitely did that one first.
so when Dan is saying this, he literally has a roll of coins with a piece of paper around it that says how much money is in this roll.
50 cents for the pennies
Okay.
and $10 for the quarters. So
Continue.
I took the $10 roll of quarters up to the food people, and I said they had a $10 for a meal. I was like, hey, can I Venmo you $10 for one meal and give you this $10 roll of quarters for another. And they said, how about we give you 3 and 2 Alani for you to Venmo us $20 and not do this again.
And never do that again.
Great response. Was it like in a concession stand thing?
No, it
No,
was
it was a
like one of the vendors.
Yeah.
Which made it even funnier. Like a concession stand thing, they probably would have just taken it.
I wish
Got
it was,
cash.
and they just would have closed the.
Well, so here's the thing. That $10 roll of quarters did end up getting used. The last day we had to pay for parking, and we ran out of $10 bills. We were out of dollar bills, y'all. So we pulled up to the...
Please tell me you don't go to strip clubs with rolls of coins.
Oh,
that
missed out on that one. Damn it.
that's called making it hail. Daniel Tosh reference. I can't take credit for that. So...
this needs to be edited as a reel immediately.
So, oh my, that'd be awesome. So we pulled up to the not the kiosk, the booth to pay for parking, and I hand the $10 roll of quarters to Kyle, and Kyle, like the wonderful, polite individual he is like, this is gonna be funny, but it probably won't work. Rolls down the window. I assume this isn't okay to use. Holds it up just like so. The lady turns to the other lady in the booth, says, "Do we take rolls?" She goes, "Yeah." And we paid for parking with a $10 roll of quarters. Which would have been funny because I definitely have, the 20 rolls of 50-cent pennies, so if we just handed them 20 of those, I wonder if that would have worked too.
Is this acceptable?
It was funny. So, okay. Question. Last podcast, episode 2, we talked about like how we advocate.
Phantom Menace.
Huh? Uranus?
Phantom Menace.
Oh, yeah.
What?
Venus. So we advocated that we focus heavily on, like, we're very good at developing.
Yeah.
Where did you see as the OG? Amanda, you can talk about, obviously, if you want, because like she's been with you the longest. You've seen the majority of the development with her. But as I'll just say bell curve. Where was the development? Like, how did these people develop as competitors,
Yeah.
athletes, etc.? Because
Yeah.
I see my vision, but I want everyone to hear yours, since you've seen all of these people more than...
I think, I mean, it's individual case based, right? Like every athlete either developed well from the competition side of things, or they developed well from the performance, capacity side of things.
So hit both of those in the bell curve if you can.
Yeah, I mean, are you asking like where the most developed, like what kind of category the most?
How can we utilize this competition weekend as evidence of like, yes, we can develop you. We do develop you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that we just had
retest. You have to look at a competition previous,
yeah,
and then to now.
I mean,
or testing of whatever kind. And
yeah. I mean, Amanda, for example, was obviously like she looked like she was playing a different game than everybody else.
Yeah.
That's kind of where that changes where you become elite.
Yeah.
So how did everybody else develop similar to that? Because everybody upgraded. Everybody.
Yeah. I mean, like Caroline and AJ have done. Caroline's done some like local competitions, like never anything this big. And for those two to be standing on top of the podium in an intermediate division is pretty impressive.
Well, how did their development process?
I mean, for them, both of them were competitive gymnasts. So like for them, it's
already ingrained.
Yeah.
So how did you develop them?
Just like, I mean, they both follow the method. So their capacity is just rising. Now they're getting stronger. They're getting faster. Like they're getting used to all these movements that they see at the competition, and like we're good at picking those movements out for them so that they can excel at live competitions.
I think the last camp we had specifically for AJ, I think was a turn for her because
I won't disagree
she
with
struggled. That. She struggled with Olympic lifting and not just the movement pattern, but the confidence behind it.
Yeah.
We made a couple tweaks, and like ever since then, like
well, she PR'd her snatch at the event.
Yeah,
too.
like but like there's a different confidence level when she approaches a bar.
Yeah. Yep.
I think almost every single person PR'd their snatch except for Pat. The Pat's shoulder was all fucked up.
Yeah.
I mean, he also snatches 300 pounds.
Well, yeah, but he also almost tore his rotator cuff kicking up on the first handstand.
Yeah, that was he definitely felt something pop in there.
Yeah,
so
I'm pretty sure. Well, Krista hit 170.
Yep. I don't.
Sydney hit 185.
Cindy, she did the most impressive thing I have ever seen anyone do
You
at a
should talk
competition.
about
She freaking told me in back that she was gonna or open at 155. So she snatches 180. Sure, she was snatching 180. So she said she was gonna open at 155. Personally, I would have liked her to have opened lower and then just build as you go. But she is a strong athlete, and I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, let's just see if she can open pretty high percentage wise of her 1RMs. So they load the bar, and they put on 25s on the inside, 35s on the outside of that, and then 10s on the outside. If you're doing your math, hold on a second. So she misses her first one, misses her second one, it looks a little bit better, and then misses her third one like behind her. And I was trying to get Danielle's attention to like be like, hey, strip the 10s, just get something on the board. And Danielle like looks at her, and Sydney's like, no, I'm not fucking doing that. And so she goes.
Awesome.
So she goes and takes her fourth lift, hits it, and then they quickly throw on 5s. And I'm like, okay, is this 165? And I start adding up the plates. I'm like, wait a fucking second. Why am I adding this to 175? I like pull out my calculator on my phone, and like it adds up to 175 as her opener, and then she goes and hits 185 for a PR. And they're like getting done, and we're trying to like wave them down like that was 185, because I think she told the judge like 165. So she opened unintentionally at 175 pounds, which was 98% of her previous
Sick.
1RM.
Hell yeah.
Hit it after 4 attempts, and then went on to hit 185.
This was after her individual.
This was the last workout
Yeah.
of the weekend.
Yeah.
So-
So workout 9.
Yeah. So that
That's gang shit.
that is literally that is literally one of the most impressive things I've
It was
ever
really
seen
cool.
at a competition.
Like, Lexi hit 135 with ease.
Yeah.
Or 145. Yuli hit 125.
Yeah.
It was really fucking good. And then
These motherfuckers be getting strong.
Caroline hit
Off the method.
31 reps, I think.
Yeah.
In the max,
And
2.5
she won.
max
She
match.
won that by a lot.
And if you look at the film, like, you wouldn't expect her to have hit 31.
I thought she was somewhere in the 20s,
No,
to be
she
honest. And
annihilated that.
31. Yeah. Yeah. So, I think just everybody builds capacity in training, and like especially with some like the stuff that we're giving them is that we are targeting specifically what the athletes need to work on. Mm-hmm. But it's one thing to take that and do that in training and do it out on the competition floor, and that I think like I was telling Danielle Lee this when she last came down, is like I train people specifically so that they are better out on the competition floor, not so that they're good in training.
Yeah.
I don't give a flying fuck what you're doing in training. I care about you performing out on the competition floor. And I think that is a mindset that is a little bit lost in this sport, because this sport is so much training, and it developed out of literal training, right? But at the end of the day, we want to be competitive out on the floor, and I'm going to give you, your training is going to make you better out on the competition floor, not so much like showing off in the gym, if that makes sense.
100%.
100%. How many athletes was this their first time going from like 2 days, 4 workouts individual into a 5 workouts team?
I mean, I think first time for everybody doing that specific style of competition. It was, I think everybody
Really?
for the most part had done. Jonathan, maybe not, because I think he did last year. But I'm pretty sure they have more workouts this year than last year.
Super proud of all of them for doing that, because the amount of volume, like that is honestly, my perception, that is a great like intro to game style ish.
Yeah.
I'll label this incorrectly. I'll say the amateur level, just because like that's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
No, it is. It's a good step. It's a step forward, towards it.
Getting used to like 4 days nonstop, like one day having 4 workouts in the singular day. Like that is
Hell yeah.
impressive to me.
My worst day of 4 workouts in a day was the fucking first day of the games in 2020.
How many workouts was it again?
It was just, well, I don't remember the total number, but the first day was the most high intensity bullshit I've ever been a part of.
Oh, that was Friendly Fran, right?
Friendly
And the 1K
Fran,
row.
max front squat.
Yeah.
You had Damn Diane, which was
Yeah.
the hardest fucking version, and you had the 1K row. All in one day. The amount
Hell
of
yeah.
intensity. I literally went home and I was like, what the fuck?
You're like, can I sleep for the next 3 days,
Yeah,
please?
I was like, dude, like where, what?
Oh
Your
my
fucking
God.
battery was absolutely fucking gone.
Trashed. But yeah, I think, just being able to take what they're doing in training and then apply it to the competition floor and then some, because everybody, I mean, several people PR'd their snatches there. Like Amanda PR'd every single workout from testing.
Yeah.
I think Yana did too, minus maybe one.
It's just crazy. That's so opposite. I'm such a person, like I will compete like I train.
Yeah.
But that's because of football. Like that's because of football and
Yeah,
sports. Like
yeah.
if I don't practice well, like I'll still compete fine, but like I have to train hard and everything
Yeah.
needs to be locked in for me to be confident
Yeah.
in how I'm going to compete. But
Yeah.
I train like that, so I typically compete exactly as I expect.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say that like these people aren't training hard or like paying attention to like the details of
It's
things.
different.
But
It's
it's
just-
it should like there's a level where it's honestly like a flow state, and it's like if you can enter into that flow state when you get out onto the competition floor and just kind of have like an outer body experience instead of being so focused on like what's happening in the moment, and you just kind of are able to pull yourself out and like almost watch yourself doing this workout, you get like a 10% improvement on your performance, and you just
That's a super skill.
I think people that are able to do that, it's a
They're on acid.
no.
I would never was on acid when I competed.
Jesus. I think so. There's a coaching brain and there's an athlete brain, and I think once you truly develop a coach brain, it's very hard to get back to that.
I was thinking about
Yes.
that. So I did that. I was in a flow state every competition that I went to. And the last competition that I was at, Granite Games, it was way harder to do it, and it wasn't every single workout that I was in it. It was like it was much more difficult. And it is a little bit of a skill that you have to develop and like learn how to do. I can't remember the name of the book that describes it very well. I'll try and find that. But yeah, it is a little bit of a skill, and it's.
I think for me at this point, like I've always been very analytical, but it's tough for me to do it outside of something that's monostructural.
Okay. Yeah.
When there's constant changes, 'cause I'm like literally, okay, I can split time here, I can catch up here, I can do this, and this, and I'm so fucking ingrained of it that I feel every rep.
Okay.
But I can adjust, and there's a positive to it. You can adjust, like, okay, I'm gonna do my bar muscle ups more glide kipping versus whatever because my triceps are blown up, right? Some athletes they're like they just go and run through a wall.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
So there's
Yeah, I would almost argue though that like that could be a flow state that you're in, because like you still it's like your focus is exactly on what it needs to be at that point in time is how I would describe it. And like if you're doing bar muscle ups, your focus isn't on, okay, my triceps are blowing up, I'm just gonna glide kip these. Oh, that felt really good. And then maybe you can draw it to something else, like, okay, I know that I'm on rep 5. I see the guy down there whose judges got 3 fingers in the air. I know that they're on 13. I can catch them on this. And it's like your focus goes from like a very narrow to broad to narrow to broad to narrow to broad throughout the entire course of the workout, to the point where you're not really feeling the workout, if that makes sense. You're just like, this is what I'm doing, and like you just complete it, if that makes sense.
yeah.
It does.
Cool. I really got to pee.
All right. Well, I feel like that's a good stopping point.
Cool. What do you guys think?
Thanks everybody for listening.
Sorry I have to go to the bathroom if you're enjoying this.
It's fine. 0 FG given, or just 0 FG energy drink. Brought to you by Tristan Meredith. To care or not to care? That is the question.
Oh my
Developed for
God.
those who battle the
And
daily
exit
drama
with
of life while
Shakespeare.
having to. It's the
Is this
thing.
Shakespeare?
No. Well, I guess. 0 FG energy.
Thanks for listening. Catch you guys next time.
We'll get that nailed.